And Heidi, I want to start with you on this because it has been 733 days since the October 7th attack that marked the start of this war. How remarkable is this deal after now months of negotiations?
I think the president is entitled to take some credit for what's going on right now. When you go back and take a look at all of the challenges that the whole region has had, and to realize that finally there'll be a ceasefire. Now the really tough work starts. And I'm not sure that the president, I think he might have exaggerated a little bit in his comments saying he's going to achieve peace in the Mideast. That's a pretty tall order, but I think this is a very, very good day to stop the hostilities, to get the hostages out of Israel. It'll be interesting to see how the conservatives in Israel respond to the 2000 prisoner swap. And so there's a lot of distance between where we are right now and peace, but we're moving in exactly the right direction. So good on the president.
Well, and Elizabeth, hop in here because, I mean, you called this ceasefire agreement a miracle on social. Did the timing of this surprise you?
Look, the timing of this is not the part that surprised me. What surprised me is that someone, and thank God for President Trump, was able to get this done. I cannot stress this enough. This deal is monumental, and I wish everybody could put partisan politics aside and admit that what Donald Trump did with this deal is make history, and I think at minimum, make sure that the world knows that he actually does deserve that Nobel Peace Prize once and for all. I don't think enough people understand, but I want people to know I was with the president last year. I was with Donald Trump on the anniversary of October 7th. We started the day praying at a Jewish holy site with the family of Idan Alexander, an American who was still being held at the time. Then we flew to Florida for a second event. It was a memorial event, and we mourned everyone whose lives had been tragically taken from us. And I watched President Trump, with every single person that he spoke to that day, pledge that if he was put back into the Oval Office, he would work day and night until a deal was reached and the hostages were all home, just as he has done. And by the way, where was Kamala Harris that day on the first anniversary of the October 7th attacks while she was running for president and when Americans were still being held on her watch? She planted a tree and then did a photo shoot for Vogue magazine. So I don't think I have to remind anybody that this would not have happened without President Trump's commitment to peace and his leadership.
Well, and Katie, I want you to hop in here because in the previous hour, we talked to retired U.S. military general, or Army General Robert Abrams, and he said that, look, this is a great start, but the tough process is really going to start in phase 2 of this, specifically whenever it comes to the backing or not backing of a two-state solution. I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, is there still a tougher road to go with this? Or is this really, a huge momentum?
I would think the tough part is getting to this point, which former President Joe Biden didn't get to. You have to remember this was a very long road for President Trump, and this started with his overseas trip to the Middle East, where he developed these sincere relationships with these foreign counterparts, and then continued at the UN, as Marco Rubio said today during the cabinet meeting, with Turkey and Qatar and so many of these nations, right, were able to levy the power onto Hamas to get to this agreement, and including when Prime Minister Netanyahu came to the White House just a few short weeks ago. And today's announcement, last night's announcement, you saw the president react in real time, is nothing but short of a miracle. And I don't believe the president's going to negotiate and give his cards in front of the world to see, because I think the greatest power President Trump has is his ability to negotiate, which he often does right in front of the American people. He's the most transformative president of our entire country. In fact, he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for everything he's done today. If you remember, it was given to President Obama just 9 months into his presidency, when he had done nothing to create a similar agreement or similar peace deal that the entire world now relies upon, that will forever shape the future of our entire world.
Mike, we've seen people in Israel dancing in Hostage Square in the streets there, but it's also not lost on us the humanitarian crisis that's playing out in Gaza and the desperate need for aid to be distributed. I mean, what are you looking for there?
I mean, there's two things, right? I'm really excited that there is a deal that is on the table, but just during the previous administration, it's going to be, can it sustain to get to phase 2, right? Phase 1, there is a little difficult dynamic with nuance to ensure that all the benchmarks are met in order for phase 1 to be fulfilled. Then you get into the challenging part, which is phase 2, which is the governance structure, right? And the governance structure is what happens to the people people in Gaza. What will be the governance structure? Will it consist of something I'm looking at, U.S. And Arab nations coming together, in particular the U.S. and Egypt? I believe in that dynamic and partnership of that governance. It marginalizes Hamas, and it gives Israel confidence that there will be measures in place that protect them, as U.S. being one of Israel's greatest allies. But with that being said, what I am excited about is that the hostages are coming home. This allows for those families who still have loved ones that are being held captive or who have deceased the opportunity to grieve and to move on, and also for the people of Gaza to be able to get the humanitarian humanitarian support and aid that is so desperately needed, including infrastructure of hospitals to be rebuilt so that those individuals can get the care that they deserve.
Yeah, you mentioned getting those hostages home. That's something that the Israeli people have been begging for. We believe there's still some 20 that are alive there. But Heidi, I want to come back to you because it's already been mentioned twice on our panel, bringing up that this should get President Trump consideration for Nobel Prize. I mean, do you agree?
I think it's up to the Nobel Committee, but I just have to caution my fellow panelists. This is a ceasefire agreement that gratefully achieves a prisoner swap for the hostages. It is the beginning of a very long process. And this idea that, as the president said, I've now accomplished peace in the Mideast, or that, look at this as a miracle, we have peace in the Mideast. Let me tell you, it's a lot more complicated than that. And we have to see how this plays out. And certainly, if he achieves peace in the Mideast, way to go. Then he deserves the Nobel Prize. But we are a long way from that today.
Okay, Mike, Heidi, Elizabeth, and Katie, please stick around because coming up in our spotlight, country music star Zach Bryan hitting back